Good morning, zookeepers. Welcome back. Today we're on Planet Zoo, and there's been a fair few requests for me to make a chicken enclosure. Now, I do have a very simple way of making them, which I'll show at the end of the video. Well, not me making it, I'll just show it off because it's a really simple, easy thing to make. I've even put it on the workshop. But I thought, in this case, I might actually make something a little bit more with a little bit more effort, rather than making something really nice and simple. My thought behind it is just a sort of chicken shed. I have cut down some of the editing just to save time on the video, so it's not like a really long video, and there's a bit of me guessworking the way I want things to be made and how I kind of fancied it to look. Right now I'm making little nesting boxes. There was a really old chicken shed I went into when we were stripping it out and making it into something else, and it had a load of these boxes on either side of the shed, and then it had the chains for hanging heat lamps off and things like this. So I thought I'd go and try and make something that looks similar to that, but not exactly that. Also, I made these little boxes for them to sit in. I do 2 stacks. I feel like it adds a nice aesthetic to it, but I never noticed any of the chickens going into the second one. So I'm kind of thinking, do I make a ramp to get up there so they go from either side and then add more chickens? I do end up adding 23 chickens into this enclosure, just so it wasn't overloaded but still looked busy as I'd like. But yeah, try and stick to having this main kind of wooden theme to these sheds. The ones I was on about in the past, there were 6 of them, and these chicken sheds then just led out onto a massive field. But I don't want to kind of just have them running out onto a field. Obviously we're not going to be clipping the wings in this game, so I thought I'd have it like a big chicken run that connects, and have 2 separate bits with a door in the middle, so then you can sort of lock off one area and clean that, or if you need to herd them for whatever reason to then capture them for whatever reason, you can make it easy by having 2 separate cages rather than a big wide open space. So we'll get to that bit in a bit. As you can see right now, I'm just sort of polishing off some parts of the little houses are made for, the bedding boxes are made for them, just so it wasn't all the same wood, trying to make it look a little different, so it doesn't just look samey, has that sort of rustic kind of feel to it. Right now I'm making the outside bit. I use this as like a little rain cover, so they can still go outside, but if they don't get wet they can just stand under that bit. Also, this is just me overthinking, obviously the animals aren't that bothered about that in the game, but just something I thought I'd add for my own personal sort of feature, as it were. Added a rain gutter so the rain wasn't dropping down straight into the outdoor pens, because chickens can make the ground really muddy, completely destroy the grass. Something I'll get into a little bit later once I actually get into putting any kind of vegetation into this. I'm just polishing off the drain and sort of the walls, trying to make it look samey. And right now I'm just putting into a snap position just to make it easy for me to quickly place down some of the poles I'm going to be attaching the mesh to. It just, when you have it snapped, it just adds a little less time messing around with things, and then you can just go and add more. I didn't as well want it looking too neat, so I made it with a bit of an advantage with the fact that I can't make them both the same size, just the way the walls are snapping. One side is bigger than the other, so in a bit later on you'll see me messing around with the wood and make one side have more poles than the other side. It just gives it something a little bit different, so it doesn't look like it's completely mirrored, and just adds a bit more characteristic to it. Sometimes when you do see these chicken pens, you just sort of support where you want support. They don't always have to be completely accurate and whatnot. It could be something that could have been thrown up quite quickly, or just thrown up for the need of the sake of it. And so that's why I kind of try and make it not too even. It just makes it look, when you're looking at it, you're like, something different about that. And yeah, and obviously I added the supports in there just to make it look a little bit realistic, and it wasn't just free floating. Obviously triangles are that really strong strong structure for keeping things stable. I took away a few of the poles because I've added too many in here. I don't want it just to be pole city, as it were. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this. Like, it took me longer than expected. As you can see, there's a fair few clips as well. I had to keep stopping and doing things, and then just coming back to it here and there. I don't know, I think there might be, I don't know, I think I spent overall maybe an hour, but separated into like 15-minute or so gaps whilst making this. As you can see right now, I'm just adding some sort of extra structure to the outside, just so it breaks up the logs, so it doesn't just look like complete logs and there's something there. And I was getting the windows in, decided to make my own custom window frame out of a different wood that was brighter, so it made it stand out. And then what I've done, I started to use the chicken decor, just add this like loads of chickens to the front of it, and then we added this wind direction. I don't know what the actual name is for it. I always forget when I need to remember the name. But the wind direction fancy finger stick on roofs. This is a chicken one. I thought I'll add that to it. I'll probably remember the name later. Not that it will be useful to me later. And then I sort of polish up the door so it doesn't have that gap at the top, and then realised that the wood was slightly sticking through, so I just brought it back through. Obviously I made all the lights in there red, but you can only ever see it at night. I was going to put the food trays inside the bedding area, but then it lifted the concrete and I couldn't be bothered messing around with it, so I just put the food outside, put loads of enrichment outside just because it was like, you know, I like watching the chickens do things with the enrichment and watch them do their own little thing. I started adding some bushes and plants. Usually I do leave my chicken pens barren. I don't really add any plants to it other than maybe a few nettles in the corner, but this time I wanted to just make it look a bit pretty and decorated. I even start adding rocks to this enclosure, something I don't usually do with like chicken enclosures, because like whenever you see chickens, it's usually just a very plain, barren kind of enclosure, a bit of enrichment, a few raised logs for them to sit on and perches and things like this. But I thought I'd actually decorate it this time, go for a little bit of effort, make it look pretty. Now, a lot of time when you see chicken enclosures where there's grass and mud, the grass would be very patchy, it'd be very muddy, there'd be like little bits of grass here and there and lots of dead grass, because they do mess up the ground massively. And as well, they will eat the grass as well, so they pull at that. So if you have like a small tight enclosure like this, it tends to be ending up looking like a mud pit more than anything that you got to try and keep dry. Like, I've kept chickens in the past. I used to absolutely love having chickens. Not having any now, right now. My missus has talked about maybe getting chickens, but that's something, that's a future development. So as you see there, I'm using the dry grass on the mud and then bringing it down a little bit to give it that barren look, but there's still something there. On the rocks I added green grass, so it's actually growing out those areas and around the bushes, and I feel like it adds like a really nice aesthetic. Like, it's just something to look at, and yeah, I absolutely love the chickens. This is definitely one of my favourite creatures. Like, it's always a battle between the chicken and the pig to what is my favourite from the barnyard species pack. But yeah, anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's given you a little inspiration with your builds. Eventually I will add this build to the workshop. I think there's one or two things I really want to change on it. Like I said, the ramp to get to the second floor of the bedding boxes, because I think that would be really interesting to see the chickens use both. And but the really simple chicken hut, which I'll show you right at the end, is what is on the workshop. Obviously this is just me getting a little bit fancy with a chicken enclosure. I don't know how much fancy you can go with chicken enclosures without making it look a little bit strange, but I try keeping with that sort of like chicken barn feel, like from what I remember in my past anyways. And then yeah, this is my really simple enclosure. So like in my back garden I had a few of these with different types of chickens in, quite large. I used the pre-built chicken coops. I thought that looked really cool. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Until next time, see you later.